Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. Main track is fast, turf course is firm, and boy, it is whipping up. We got a breezy afternoon, a morning, I should say, not afternoon yet, but a breezy day, and it looks like we're going to have a fun day of racing. Hi, Ashley.
Welcome back. I thought you weren't maybe not going to come back and just stay in Maryland. You had a good time.
I had a pretty good time up there and got to see a really nice race with Rombauer winning it, so coming down the stretch. So, but I want to thank both you and Brian for doing a fantastic job. All I hear is kudos. I don't know, I was afraid I might not be allowed to come back here after a good job that you guys both did.
No, we need you back here. I need some long shots. I didn't have too many of them on the days you were gone. There weren't that many big prices, but I'm going to be looking for your long shots the next couple days.
Well, we got a main track. It's fast, as I said, firm. We got some breezy conditions today. We got a $150,000 jackpot guarantee in the Rainbow Six. And, of course, each and every day we got a couple of pick fives. So let's take a look at your early pick five ticket.
As usual, I stay with that $36 play. I go three deep in here. It's a 2-year-old race going 5 furlongs on the turf for fillies. I use Walla Holly. She's so beautiful, as well as the number 7, Diabolic. Mark Cassiebarn was on fire last week with 2-year-olds, so couldn't leave that one off my tickets. Race 2, I used 2 runners in here. The number 4, Discreet Tune, as well as the number 5, Don V, who I have a lot of interest in off that maiden score last time out. Also go 2 deep in race 3. Use the number 4, Malibu Mandate, and the number 5, First Navy Admiral. There is a key scratch in here, which made me restructure my ticket of the number 8 Bebo. So I go 2 deep in race 3. Spread again in race 4. I use September 10, the one who I know you like a lot in that spot, as well as the number 5, Kalu, and the 6, Doc Amster. And then just 2 horses in race 5. So that makes the ticket $36. I just spread in those 2 key races, in my opinion, the first and the 4th race.
I think we're almost exactly in agreement here. We might have a couple of horses flip-flopped. I don't know if that's good or bad this afternoon, but the really nice way to start the day with these 2-year-old fillies going 5 furlongs on the turf. We did have the scratch of the 1 and the number 3, and I went with so did you. Number 6, She's So Beautiful. It's a daughter of Air Force Blue. I see Warfront. You know that's where I'm going. Debuting for Carlos David, who boasts a really solid win percentage with his 2-year-old first-time starters. Sammy Camacho in the saddle. I just see the breeding, and I'm going to take a shot there. And a barn that does exceptionally well with those freshman runners.
You mentioned the breeding, kind of looking at the siblings here. 4 out of the 5 that have raced, they've been winners, so that's always nice to see. And just 3 workouts. We always talk about workouts, and these horses will have maybe 10 coming into their debut, just 3, and I think just showing a steady progression in the morning. So I used her on top. The barn does tremendous work all the way around. First-time starters, 2-year-olds, you name it. So I went in the same direction as you.
Then number 5 horse in here, Walla Holly, who I put in second, is a daughter of Verrazano out of the Danzel mare fishing, debuting for Wesley Ward. Strong turf breeding, I think, on both sides of the family tree. And the barn, look at this record with their 2-year-old first-time starters. I think about 31% or something thereabouts.
Yeah, 2-year-olds, 31%. Firsters in general, 35%. I mean, this is definitely a numbers angle. And then you see Mario Pino, Wesley Ward do quite well here. 24% of the time they find themselves in the winner's circle. So I use this one a little further down. I honestly think they're top 3 here. You can make a case for any of them. It's going to be an exciting race. They're 2-year-olds. You never know what to expect.
Well, Diabolic, that Irish bred, is the daughter of Dark Angel, as you mentioned, for trainer Mark Cassie. String of solid workouts showing up on the Palm Meadows turf. Embassy Al Jaramillo, and as you mentioned, the barn has been pretty hot.
Yeah, they had 2 winners last week in the 2-year-old races. They swept the 2-year-old races, so big performances. Kind of same angle here, just using the filly. Kind of see the pedigree, also suggests turf. So I almost used her on top, thinking that Mark Assey can go kind of 3 for 3 in a week span with the 2-year-olds, but I still went with the Carlos David runner on top, just seeing more of how the siblings have performed.
Let's flip the page. We'll go to race number 2, 5 furlongs on the turf. These are claimers, 3 and up, but non-winners of 2 in life, 20,000 down to 16. Scratch the main track, only number 6. And as I mentioned, I think we were going to be in agreement this afternoon. We got the same super up there, and we both started it with the number 4, Discreet Tune, who's going to the Carlos David barn. So we're looking for him to get the early double.
Talk about first off the claim. We talk about with him, with Safi, with Jorge Delgado, but this number is the one that really stands out. 41% first off the claim. Face winners last him out for the first time while only in for the 12-5 tag. Finished kind of an even third. Didn't really have a late punch in the stretch. I just thought the maiden score 2 back was really impressive. Was able to get the lead and kind of draw clear, and the Beyer speed figure kind of towers over the group. It was an 80 in that maiden score on the 18th of March, so I had to use this one on top.
Well, let's go back and see the performance of Don V. Last time out, who's going to the Bobby Hess Jr. barn after the claim and steps up to face winners. This was just like a walk in the park, as they say, for this horse. Now, look, it was 2-5 that day and was supposed to do this, so this is sort of a window dressing performance here, but just a really powerful move. I thought it was the odds-on choice, wins it by about 6 lengths in there.
And a couple things, too. I mean, the runner-up came back to break the maiden next time out. This was the first start since August, and to win that nice first off the layoff now makes me kind of curious going to a new barn that does okay off the claim, but they've had a really strong start to the spring-summer meet. What else can we see from Don V? So another, for me, was a second-place horse to use in here, but I still think Don V could win this. So I couldn't use this one, or I shouldn't say I couldn't throw this one from that early pick 5.
Well, number 3, Smoke Alarm, is dropping to the 20 level after setting the pace weak and finished 4th. That was in that pair of 5 furlong turf sprints. I thought it was against a little tougher competition for Paul Kopach, getting our leading rider, Edgar Zayas, in the saddle today.
I think kind of those last 3 races, they've been against tougher. You see Montané won the start 2 back and 3 starts back. The Virginian, you see Captain Ron. To me, those are tougher horses than this one's going to face today, now making the 3rd start off the layoff. My biggest concern with Smoke Alarm just really doesn't have a late kick at all. It just kind of gets to the front or towards there and hangs on usually for a minor share. So maybe the class relief will help, but still, I'm thinking a minor award at best.
Edgar Zayas will be in the saddle, so that's the first 2 races. It looks like we need Carlos David to run very well in those first 2 races. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'll show you my Rainbow Six ticket. Guess what the price is?
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Ground off her inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Exactly noon, 12 p.m. here. Welcome back to Gulfstream Today, Ron and Ashley. 3rd race is on the dirt today. 5.5 furlongs. Claimers 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life. $6,250. As you alluded to when you were putting your early ticket together, the number 8 Bibu, the 9-5 favorite, was scratched out of that race. Let's quickly go to my $43.20 ticket. And I went too deep in here with Malibu Mandate, but I got First Navy Admiral on top, which I always did. I didn't have Bibu on top of my ticket. Had a little further down, Gilberto Zerpa. It's going to keep the 1 horse in here, so I'm a little concerned about that with Thor Over. He had 2 entered in there, and as you mentioned, Scratch Bibu. 2 deep in race number 4. I like September 10 this afternoon. Comes out of a key race. Doc Amster ran pretty good up there in Tampa. I wanted to use Kalu, but I had to pare down my ticket a little bit. I think that horse for Kent Sweezy can run well. 3 deep in race number 5. I like Ill Will's chances along with Roadhouse Blues and Lyrical. Race number 6, my long shot is in there today. It is the number 2, Check Twice. I just find this horse curious. It didn't run that well at 50-1. It drops, got leading rider Edgar Zayas in the saddle today. I lost a big scratch in race number 7. I really liked Celestial Cheater, so I moved Come On Karen up on top of my ticket. I think I got the logical 3 and 8 with Capture the Genie, Coffee Buzz Buzz, and Zip It Jess. So $43.20 for me. You see $150,000 guaranteed. I heard somebody hit it the other day for a lot of money.
They did. So we'll say, I don't know if it'll pay that much today. I think we're pretty much on the same agreement. I think kind of looking at the card, it's formful. The only race I'm really looking forward to is race 6 because you like a long shot in there. I don't have that one at all, so maybe I missed something. So like I said, I'm looking for your long shots now that you're back.
Well, here in race number 3, as I mentioned, I started and always had the number 5 First Navy Admiral on top of my ticket. Was making a usually fruitful 3rd start back from the layoff. Cuts back to 5.5 furlongs. Went up, set the pace, yielded late to finish 3rd against familiar competition for Ralph Nix. Sammy Camacho, 3rd start off the bench. I figured maybe I can get this one to score. With the scratch of number 8 Bibu, who had a little further down. I like this horse just a tad more this afternoon.
You mentioned you already used this one on top. I think the scratch certainly certainly helps for his Navy Admiral in the sense of early foot, because I thought Bibu would be forwardly placed as well as this one. And I think First Navy Admiral is the type that if he kind of get an easy lead, he kind of hangs around for at least a share. You mentioned third start off the layoff, also third start since joining the Ralph Nix barn, who previously trained this horse back in the summer of 2020. Definitely there was a huge improvement from that first start off the layoff to the most recent one on May 9th. There was also a slash in the claiming price. So it certainly, fits better at the 62.50 level. I think last time out, maybe just got a little bit tired. Kind of looking at who beat this one, Malibu Mandate is actually who I used on Chop, just because this one flipped the tables last time out and certainly was another one that stepped up while kind of taking a drop in class.
Yeah, renews the rivalry with the top choice, going 5.5 today. And handicapping 101, this horse beat one last time. You'd think that would be the case today, but I think you have to use one. I was alluding to the number 1, Thorover, who Gilberto Zerpa scratched the 9-5 favorite, and here Bibu and turned this one back to 5.5 furlongs after the Chase and Fate outing going 6.5. I think this horse is part of the pace this afternoon, the scratch, especially with the scratch of its stablemate today.
You're going to get blinkers off, which is an interesting move. Also getting a weight break. So you can see there's changes. You mentioned has early foot, now has the rail draw, which certainly can kind of change their options. I mean, the horse already has early foot. At this point, why not just go? You have that inside post position, and you're cutting back from 6.5 to 5.5. That's a key thing here, too. So this is one that I actually didn't use originally because I did use Bibu, so I had to kind of put this one into my ticket, but did not use in that early pick 5. So a little cautious about this one. You mentioned it's a key scratch to see Gilberto Zerpa keep this one in.
Well, tell us about the number 7, Papa Honor.
This horse is 10-1 on the morning line. I just thought maybe, last time out, second start off the layoff, going 7 furlongs, just sat a great trip. Was only facing $10,000 maiden claimers, but sat off the pace. Was a big field of 12, and when it when this one got called upon, drew clear by almost 6 lengths in the end. I just thought it was a really big performance and certainly a step up from those last couple that we saw. Now, this horse has raced at Gulfstream Park, only has one on the board finish. You kind of got to go down the page. It was back in September against $40,000 maiden claimers. And again, this one's going to close from off the pace. So if the pace is hot enough, I think Papa Honor can close late.
Well, let's go to race number 4. 6 furlongs, allowance, optional claimer 3 and up, the optional tag of $25,000. We did have a scratch in here of the morning line favorite, number 2, Admiral Lynch. So we're dealing with a 5-horse field. This will kick off the late pick 5 this afternoon. And you have the number 6. We'll start with Doc's Amster. We'll go back and show you this horse's performance. We're going to pick it up from the top of the stretch home. I just thought he was rather impressive. It looks like he's pretty much beat here when they're turning for home, but he rallies on the inside again. I just thought this was a game performance by this horse. You can see him, man. You still think, well, maybe he'll be second, but here he comes. He just keeps fighting on, and he gets beat by Baby Boomer, who was a repeat winner, came back in its next start and was 9-5 that day. So I just thought this was a pretty game performance. First level allowance, that was going 3/4 mile. I think maybe he gets a little bit of a class check this afternoon.
I agree. I think looking at that performance, too, the big thing, yes, he was favored, but he had to work all the way around the racetrack at Tampa going the 6 furlong distance. Baby Boomer came back to win next time out. My concern with Doc Amster is actually just the inconsistency in form. He has a great race, then he's so-so, kind of flip-flops. You can almost do that down his whole page, except for his last 2. They've both been pretty good, but they were at Tampa, so it'll be interesting to see him back here. But he's, that was his start in the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn, now his second in a row. I just think he's a horse you have to use in this spot. His workouts maybe aren't the flashiest since that most recent effort, but he seems to have some talent. When he's at his best, he's really, really strong.
Well, I have my best bet in here today, and I don't know what price we're going to get on it. It was 7-2 on the morning line, but that scratch certainly is going to not be good as far as the price goes. September 10 is turning back to 6.5 after getting really, you go back, parked wide, finished 5th, but it turned out to be a really good $30,000 starter allowance going a mile, a race that produced a trio of next out winners, including big drama stakes winner Well Defined for Rohan Crichton. That barn is certainly heated up. Paco Lopez in the saddle, certainly keen off for Well Defined, who I think is back on Friday, if I remember correctly. I think so. September 10, I'm not going to leave Doc Amster off. And as I was talking about my Rainbow Six, the horse that we both have a third, Kalu, this is the horse that scares me a little bit as far as the lateral wagers go.
I think he's sneaky for a lot of reasons, just because if you watch his races, this horse is tough as nails, never wants to be passed, and surrenders only when he kind of has to, 2 starts back against Uncork the Bottle. But did some more digging on Kent Sweezy, the trainer of Kalu, and had an interesting formulator fact. Kind of looking at horses, they win. He had a nice win last time out. How does the trainer do with winners last out? So I looked at the last 2 years, and Kent is 28 for 112. So 25% he finds himself back in the winner's circle. He's 57 for 112. So 51% of the money with a 210 ROI. Some pretty strong numbers. You kind of look at Kalu. I mean, I figure Kalu's probably top 3 material here. He was just one that, we talk about the other horses. They're pretty strong, the horse on the rail and towards the outside. But Kalu, I think he's just kind of ferocious. He doesn't want to be passed, so I had to use him in my tickets.
And it's a big sample size. It's not like it's, 3 for 4, 25% or whatever, something like that. So a good percentage, and Kent does just a fantastic job. And that's the one, as I said, scares me. With that said, maybe if you find a single somewhere there, you add that horse to your ticket this afternoon. Race number 5, 6 furlongs, claimers, fillies and mares, 3 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. Scratch the 2. Also scratch the number 12 horse in here, and this kicks off our late pick 4. And do you have any pick 4 wins while it was gone?
I think I had one. I don't think I was too hot on these. I went a lot of 4 out of 5s and 3 out of 4s as per usual. But kind of looking at this late pick 4, I spread in the last 2 races. In this first race, I just used 2 horses in here, the number 4, Ill Will, as well as the number 8, Roadhouse Blues, who's dropping significantly in class. Race 6, I go to 2 horses in here, the number 5, Garner State Park, my top pick, as well as the number 3, Touring Egypt, who liked last time out. Still think this horse is kind of on the up and up, so I used her once again in here. Then in race 7, I spread in here. When I started writing the numbers down, I liked a lot of horses in this race. You mentioned a key scratch of the number 5, Celestial Cheetah. So I went 3 deep in here to Rest of the Story, Come On Karen, who's undefeated so far in her career, as well as the number 6, Patrick's Lass. And then finally, race 8, I think we're identical here. I think the 6, 7, and 8, Zip It Jess, Coffee Buzz Buzz, as well as the number 8, Capture the Genie, probably the most formful and likely winners, but no one really stood out to me on paper, so I went 3 deep there for an $18 late pick 4.
Yeah, and in race number 5, I think we have the logical 2, at least on the ticket. We'll start it off with the horse that we both have on top, and that's the 4, Ill Will, who's dropping to this $6,250 level and turning back to 3/4 of a mile. First, we're going to go back and show you this horse's start, and then we'll pick it up when this horse turns for home. And you're going to just see the one horse here going to the inside, wants to check out let's see how the turf course looks today. Didn't have much of a start, was dead last early on in the going. And this is where this is amazing. I think this horse has to tip out. Got nowhere to run still in this compact field. It's got to go all the way out 5 wide. So up against it early on and here, ends up finishing 3rd. And I think the drop to the 6,250 level. And you got the apprentice in there, Renee Diaz, in the irons today, getting in light. I think if this horse could stay out of trouble early and run like last time, could be very dangerous in this spot.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't check out all the different angles here at Gulfstream Park of the racetrack. You mentioned that the start really, to me, was the biggest thing, too. I mean, it just took out a lot of him, and can see Corey Lannery, the balance was kind of lost a little bit. But now he's going to drop in for 6,250. He's going to cut back from that 7 furlongs to 6 furlongs. I still think, all in all, like you said, last time out, it was still a good performance, kind of considering everything. And 3 starts back when he broke the maiden was much the best in that field. So, and he even had problems on that occasion. So he can overcome trouble, just not multiple things, it looks like.
Well, the number 8, Roadhouse Blues, is another drop into this level today after following. Boy, this horse was impressive, breaking its maiden with a poor showing against those open claimers last time out at the 20 level. Love the work that George Weaver does. He's got Paco handling the class relief. So you got 2 horses that are dropping down. And maybe when the smoke clears, a horse like number 8, Roadhouse Blues, is going to be the favorite in this spot.
I have reservations about her just based on that last performance because it was pretty poor overall. I mean, she just, was kind of eager early on and dropped back. I still had to use her here because I was at the $20,000 level, really slashing the claim price today. Paco Lopez is climbing back aboard, actually piloted her in the debut at Monmouth, but was really ready to fire off that long layoff. We hadn't seen this one between, July and March, won at the 12.5 level quite nicely. So maybe this one just kind of had a bad performance, still had to use her. The winner, Sassy Beast, we talked about this, won that race, DQ'd, then came back to win at again and finally get that second lifetime win. So, it was a tougher spot, but I would have expected more last time out. So now we'll see what we can do third time off the layoff.
Well, I thought the number 9, Lyrical, should have the screws tightened after returning from the layup. Went up duel for the lead. He faded to finish 5th, or she faded to finish 5th, going 5.5 furlongs. But Gilberto's up pretty sharp. He's almost 25% with the second start off the bench, so I threw that on. And I can understand using the number 7, Queen of Barry. I was sort of flip-flop between these horses behind Ill Will and Roadhouse Blues.
Yeah, when you look at Queen Abarrio, the big thing with her is she's had 18 starts in her career. She broke her maiden a while back. back, and she's been looking constantly for that second lifetime win and can't do it. When you look at her record, she's always kind of claiming those minor shares. This year alone, she's 3 for 5 in the money. She, in my opinion, has stepped up each time. Now she's going from that 5.5 furlong performance where she finished second. The winner between Dreams came back to win next time out. I just thought, honestly, this one was going to have a better price, and to me, they're kind of the same.
Yeah, so when this picking up here, my TV is going. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, I like the sixth race. You like the sixth race today. And this is a mile and the 16th on the turf, maiden claimants. Fillies and Mastering up $25,000. Scratch the main track only. That's the inside horse, number 1 in there. And I did go, I'll start with my long shot in here. Here's the reasoning. And it's a bit of a stretch. I'll admit that right now, because if you go back and look at this horse, was 50-1 last time. Didn't run that well, but dropping to the 25 level, stretching out today to the mile and the 16. Had some trouble entering the stretch, sort of had to go back, but I didn't think the horse was going to be, that close. Even finished 8th and last against maiden special weight competition going a mile. Okay, we know that. Now, Antonio Asano secures the services today of leading rider Edgar Zayas, and I just find that so intriguing. And I think the horse had a trouble call, dropping down. You're going to get a price. The last running line is not pretty at all. So I figured maybe with the number 2 check twice, I can get maybe a little bit of a better check.
You mentioned the rider. I feel like if you're going to price Antonio Sano's usually the guy. When I don't use him, he usually fires at a price. So, the class relief should certainly help. And this is only her 3rd start in her career. So I think when you're looking at this spot, a couple other runners, like my top pick, for example, he used for second, Garner State Park. I've used her on top in her last 2, and she still hasn't gotten it done when I thought she would. So I understand kind of taking more of a stance here and you said breaching, but maybe not with the class relief.
Well, we'll see how that horse runs. But when you handicap this race, the horse you have on top, Garner State Park, is the one to beat with the stretch out to the mile and the 16th, and proving she could compete at this level when she finished that late closing 4th, going 7.5 furlongs. Rohan Crichton, Paco Lopez, going to try the added real estate this afternoon. But I was, like you said, I'm not totally enamored with this horse, but against this level of competition, she indeed deserves the moniker of the one to fear.
Yeah, the one saving grace I had for using her on top is what you mentioned. She is stretching out from back-to-back 7.5 furlong distance races to a mile and a 16th, and you go 3 back. That was over a year ago, and she just missed by a neck behind Caribbean Kitten, who was favored in that spot, because I know we've shown this replay before. So if she can do what she did 3 starts ago, I think she graduates today and finally gets the job done, but she still left me with wanting just a little bit more of those last 2.
What about the number 4, Caronville, who's hoping to save more firepower today for the stretch drive? Opened and surrendered that early 2-length lead when finishing second. Where? In front of Garden State Park last time out. I think she's on the engine today with Hector Berrios in the saddle. Going to be interesting. We've been dark for live racing for a few days at the turf course. We'll be playing this afternoon. This is going to be good for speed. We'll see if this horse goes. If this one gets out there on a lonesome lead, it could be very dangerous in a horse where the main competition likes to do their running from a store closed position.
Yeah, I agree. I think looking at her most recent performance, even going 7.5, if they try that again, there's really not a ton of speed on paper, and she can maybe get the jump on the field. So I did use her as well.
Well, race number 7 this afternoon, you did the absolute right thing here. I had it easy for me when the number 5 Celestial Cheetah was in the race. I thought that was a major player in there, but scratched out. By the way, this race is 7 furlongs allowance, state-bred fillies, 3-year-olds. Scratched that number 5 that we're talking about. And I just bumped up number 2, Come On Karen, who we've seen horses that have come out of this race, even if they haven't won, the previous races that this horse won have run well in the past, and this one done nothing wrong yet.
No, she hasn't, and I think she's getting a good spot today in the sense that looking at her other competition, these other 3-year-old fillies in here, there's a lot of horses that when they've won on the front end, or they've been kind of engaged early in her races, and she's never really in a hurry. She closes from off the pace. She has to go wide, and she's been able to get it done. She's going to stretch out to 7 furlongs, and based on what we've seen so far, I think she's going to love the 7/8 distance today. Last time out, I was really impressed with her. I think kind of looking at some of the horses that she faced, especially Briella, she really kind of was much the best, and even those top 2, they were clear of the entire field.
Well, horse I didn't use, and I want to hear why you did, and that's the rest of the story on the inside, I believe, for Eddie Plesa Jr.
When you look at her most recent race, it's her only start as a 3-year-old. Lot to be left to be desired there. I mean, she was well beaten. She only beat 2 runners. She was beaten by almost 11 lengths. Mon Petit Choux came back, had a really nice win here just this past weekend, and I thought she's going to be a decent filly as well. But Look at her races as a 2-year-old. She had 3 solid races. She was second on debut, broke the maiden decisively in her second career start, and then they tried her in a $400,000 stakes race, and she was second at a big price. So maybe she just needed a race. She's only making the second start of her 3-year-old campaign, so I'm going to use her. And kind of looking at her workouts, her most recent workout I liked, 48-1 breezing.
Yeah, Eddie Plessis Jr. does a fantastic job. Edgar Zeiss will handle that inside post. Now, we both had some interest. I actually bumped this one up to second. That's Patrick's Last, who showed to be primed and ready to offer more after returning from about a 6-month layoff to show speed and finish third against those state-bred froze going 3/4 of a mile. I just love Louis Russell. I see him. I'm always giving him a second look. He's got Embassy El Jaramillo in the saddle today.
And speaking of Louis Russell, when you weren't here, he was on a bender. He was having lots of wins. He had a really great week last week here. I think this one is another same situation where this one needed a race. Last time out, still a decent third. There wasn't anything wrong with the performance. Maybe just got a little tired. Hadn't been seen since October. And this is another filly. I compare this one a lot to the one just because they're kind of the same. They've been really consistent. Great performances, and maybe just needed a race.
Well, I want to add the number 4 to that scenario, too, and that is No Decaf, who's returning from the layoff after a solid sprint campaign before going to the sidelines in February. She's a speedy daughter of Kozan. She's run well at 7 furlongs in the past, and she may have tipped her hand with that bullet work in a minute flat going 5 furlongs, albeit only against 4 horses at the distance. But this horse was pretty nice before the layoff.
You mentioned there's been the freshener. I think the big thing I see, too, I mentioned there's a couple horses in here. They have early foot. I think she's probably the quickest of the field from what we've seen. Paco Lopez in the saddle, that screams speed to me. So, he piloted her last time to that second-place finish, and she's got a nice bullet drill. So the barn's actually, from a limited number of runners, too, they're doing okay so far this meet.
Well, let's go to race number 8 this afternoon. This is a 5-furlong turf sprint. These are claimers, fillies, and mares, 3-year-old and up. Non-winners of 2. Easy for me to say. 12.5 down to $10,000. Always like to find my long shot in the last race. I wasn't able to do that. I just see these 3 horses as the logical ones. Capture the Genie looks ready to score after finding, I think, a proper level and surface when she finished that stalk to pace third against 2 lifetime claimers. Mark Cassie. Let's see how he does with these turf horses. I know he's been tearing it up with his youngsters.
Yeah, and he did have a couple turf wins last week. I think he had 2 that kind of stick out to me by their names. But I think when you look at this one, obviously there was a big break from July 2019 to March 21st. They tried the dirt, then they dropped each start, and finally got her on the turf. She kind of woke up. Her buyers, obviously, from that break, it was her best buyer of a 56 compared to her other races this year. But she only missed by a length and a half. She didn't take too much money in there. For me, I just thought she was probably the best in the field. I think her main competitor is probably the number 6, Zip It Just. But from here, I mean, it's any one of these 3. They're still looking for that second lifetime win. Some have had more starts than others. So I just think seeing this one maybe second time on the turf, she can step up again.
Well, Zip It Jess must be respected on her ability to show speed at the 5-furlong distance. The problem has been holding that advantage to the wire. She's going to take them as far as she can. Number 7, Coffee Buzz moves to the Peter Waldemar after the claim, cuts back to 5 after showing some interest, brief interest in fading against those 22 lifetime foes going a mile. Paco adopt this daughter of Ghost Zapper.
We always talk about Peter Walder first off the claim. He still does good work. Second off the claim. Last time out was in for that $20,000 tag. And when they claimed this one out of a dirt race here on March 3rd. Got her back onto the turf because she has some decent turf races under her. But for me, her form isn't what it once was. So I had some reservations about her. Only used her for third in here, but she's getting a good call as terms of the pilot. Paco's climbing aboard, and it's the barn. We always talk Peter Walder. I can't leave him off my tickets.
Well, that's how we see the 8-race card, and I'm so excited about the lightning round. I want to jump right into it this afternoon. And as we do each and every Thursday, I'm going to start it off with the current jock and trainer standards. We'll start with the jockeys this afternoon. And I just thought that Edgar, right up there, but he's got Edwin Gonzalez, as you had mentioned to me, he's on another little brief vacation for a couple of days. Paco right there in third.
He's on a brief vacation. I think he returns on Saturday, but when you were gone, he won 5 races on Thursday on the 8-race card from 7 mounts, so he really picked up some wins. And Edgar, he had a tremendous weekend here as well and picked up a couple wins for Safi and things like that. So the top 3 have kind of cleared their way, but even 4th place, everyone's kind of inching up a little bit.
Yeah, it's very, 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 good. They're very right next to each other. I expected to go down to the wire for the whole spring-summer campaign. Not so much in the trainer standings right now with Safi Joseph Jr. sitting up there with 25 wins. He's just drawing away every day. You said, well, maybe they'll catch up. Doesn't look that way right now.
He swept the stakes here this weekend. He had a trifecta in one of the stakes races where he was 1, 2, 3 with his runners in there. So he's had a tremendous weekend and just success here at the meet. Mark Casse, as we mentioned, picked up a couple of wins, and then you got a couple guys tied for 7th. So it looks like right now the fight's for 3rd place.
Well, talking about fantastic weekends, what about the weekend up there at Pimlico, Preakness Day? They had an all-time record for Preakness Day. They bet $113 million, breaks the all-time record. And there you see the winner, of course, Ron Bauer with the Black-Eyed Susans. And it was just a fantastic day of racing, great weather, and the people really showed their interest in horse racing.
You mentioned great weather. That always helps when you have fast and firm as far as your surfaces. But the other thing is just the race office at the Maryland Jockey Club, as well as the horsemen, really came together and put on 2 fabulous cards. I know there were a lot of prices more so on Friday than Saturday when I was looking at the results. So people were interested all weekend long.
Yeah, and, you know, we want to go back and a friend of ours, Kenny Mayne, a friend to racing, he's retiring from ESPN. And, Kenny, we've had a lot of fun with him in the past. You see him right here at Gulfstream Park. And he had a great thing with the tough beats when Pete Aiello was calling a horse. Looked like he was home free, and all of a sudden the horse decided to take a left turn and jump the rider. So he was on best beats for a while. They still show it to this day. And Kenny just loves horse racing and a fun guy. And I just wanted to say good luck in your future endeavors.
When I was a kid, I'd always look up to him and Janine Edwards and Randy Moss. And I remember being a kid asking for autographs and photos. I mean, they were kind of idolized. What they did on ESPN was tremendous work. So he's decided to step away, but hopefully somehow he'll still stay involved in racing.
Yeah, Kenny, like me, sort of looks at this game with a little tongue in the cheek there. So we'll see how, congratulations to him. And then we got a bit of a sad note. Malibu Moon, the sire of both the Grade 1 Florida Derby and Kentucky Derby winner, Orb, dies at age 24. And what a horse this, what a breeding campaign this horse has had.
You mentioned Orb, 2-year-old champion Declan's Moon, and kind of looking more into his stats. We all know how great he was when you look at the numbers. 126 black type winners. He had 17 Grade 1 winners on the dirt. I mean, just a tremendous stallion.
Yeah, just that. So congratulations. I mean, we'll just see how this horse does as far as our memory bank goes down the road. So that is our lightning round today. We should have a fun day of racing. Once again, thanks, Ashley, for helping me out this morning. And we'll be back here throughout the afternoon with some useful updates.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Round off first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.